Hello, my name is Brad Pohl, and it's my honor to introduce Joel Nixon into the 2025 class Morningside University Hall of Fame. It was a one-year gig. Coach Ryan called me up and asked me to be his OC and coach the quarterbacks in 2012. I remember the first day I saw the players gathered under the shed and or graze, and I thought to myself, man, these guys are studs. Guys like Cavillo and Roberg and Goforth and that ghost Colby Henderson and Klett and Shuck and McCabe. And of course, there was that one guy, Nixon. Having coached in the league for a few years, I had seen Nixon all too often in my end zone. Seems like we were maybe, I don't know, maybe just shy of a week in practice when Coach Jacobson pulls me aside and he says, if you can get this offense going, we're going to have a hell of a year because we're loaded on defense. Well, life goes on another week or so, and Coach Ryan walks into my office and tells me we need to make a change at quarterback. So he says, I think we got to move Nixon there. I think we got to move Nixon to quarterback. Well, Nixon, Shuck, and McCabe were kind of like three musketeers, and breaking up that trifecta on the perimeter, I wasn't so sure of. But Coach filled me in on Nixon's background and said, he's got to be able to complete 66% of his passes for us to be as successful as we need to be. Then he says, think about it. We'll talk later tonight. So I'm thinking, we're about 2 weeks into camp, and I got to take a guy, a senior, who hasn't played quarterback since he was a freshman and turn him into a Tom Brady. I thought, oh my God, help us. Well, never discount God on a short prayer. That evening before dinner, Steve walked back in my office and he said, I just want to add one more thing. He said, this team will follow Nixon. Everyone believes in him. Well, only a fool would walk away from these odds. The next morning in the quarterback room, I began to understand why everyone believed in Joel Nixon. Some men have a way. They have an infectious, attitude about it. They light up a room. They make others believe they can do more, they can try more, they can achieve more. That was Joel Nixon. After this, I can tell you without the slightest exaggeration, we never experienced bad practice. Everything about Morningside football is fast, and Joel made us faster. We opened up the season and Joel lit up the sky and busted off 50-yard runs. We were off to the races, just like Jacobson predicted. We won 13 straight games. But this story always rests in my mind about Joel because he was a man who knew what he was about and what he could do. And that kind of confidence takes a man a long way in life. We're in about the fourth or fifth week of the season. I wanted to insert a new pass play into the offense, and I thought we were getting a little predictable. We had a favorite pass play that we called Indy. We'd call it, and Joel would throw it and complete it. But if it wasn't open, Joel would run around while Shuck and McCabe invented new space in the defense, and then Joel would complete it. Coach Ryan agreed, but he told me, he said, you'd need a pretty good presentation to convince Nixon. I thought my presentation was pretty flawless, and Nixon looked like he was convinced. So I asked him, what do you think? He said, Coach, that was really a good presentation, and I really see why it would work, but I can't throw it. Why don't we just throw Indy one more time? I can throw that. Well, we got to the second round of playoffs, and we had Southern Oregon, and the game went into overtime, and they had the first possession, and they kicked a field goal. Joel was suffering from cramps late in the game. He lacked a little pickle juice, I guess, but he still had enough piss and vinegar in him. We got down to the sixth, and I was sitting in the call, and Coach Luter said, hey, Nixon is saying he's got a play he wants to run. I said, well, let him run it. So I think we ran our corner route about 14 times that year for a touchdown. And that's what Joel called. McCabe was supposed to run a speed out on the play, but he pivoted and came back inside and beating the defender badly. Nixon hit him for a touchdown. I asked McCabe, but I already knew the answer. I think we all knew the answer. McCabe found open space, and he knew Nixon could get him the ball. The next week in the semifinals, we had the defending national champion, St. Xavier. They had this linebacker who was an All-American. And Nixon was up to the challenge of that. If we won this game, we'd go to Rome, Georgia, and play for the national title. And that'd be played in December. So that week in practice, Nixon asked me, he says, "Have you ever played in December?" I said, "No, I haven't." He said, "Neither have I." Then he said, "Let's you and I go play in December." Well, we rolled St. X. And late in the game, Nixon scores on a run, and their All-American linebacker tackles him deep into the end zone. Really late. Legend has it. Somehow Nixon ended up on top of the surly linebacker, and they were staring at each other through their face masks, face to face, when Nixon said in a very, very matter-of-fact tone, "Looks like we're going to Rome." I coached 40 years at the FCS D2, NAI, and D3 level. Some say that coaching is a lot like fishing a river. You never step into the same stream twice. I believe it's true for coaches. Every season, you step into a brand new team. So I've been around thousands of college players, real good ones, great ones, all Americans, some who've made it all the way to the NFL. Joel Nixon was the best I was ever around. Congratulations, Joel.